Last year, the Center for Digital Media was approached by a group of educators who were building a historical website funded by the federal government. While their material is very relevant to all of us, this group was particularly interested in attracting an audience of young adults. In the summer, through a series of workshops with both project stakeholders and youth, they arrived at the idea of creating an online game for their site. This game is called Gold Mountain Guest.
A young adult's knowledge and experience of video games is quite sophisticated. The strongest reference point the workshop had for a historical game was Call of Duty.
With a limited team, time frame, and budget, there is no way we could ever begin to create such a game. But we decided that the best way to speak the same language of young adults was to speak the language of video games.
This historical website draws heavily on oral family histories. That pointed us to a narrative-based storytelling game such as an RPG. Borrowing from Call of Duty, we developed the idea of creating an immersive experience seen from the point of view of the player. Essentially, a first-person shooter without the shooting. Instead, our character explores the world around her, learning by doing, and solving puzzles that ultimately lead her to uncover her own family's history.
To communicate history in an experiential and immersive way, we developed the idea of creating a narrative mystery to maintain attention through suspense and intellectually challenging gameplay. Research has determined that mystery games have the most potential to appeal to both genders.
With a large number of stakeholders involved, working from different geographical locations, it was very important that we found an effective way to communicate what we were doing with everyone else, wherever they were.
We decided to create our own public website, goldmountainguest.ca, to document our process, our challenges, and solutions on a daily basis.
Using WordPress, each team member was encouraged to blog weekly. This did take a great deal of time and effort to accomplish. However, by proactively chronicling our experiences, in the long run, we also save the time and effort needed to keep other team members informed, not just the stakeholders.
This was especially true for new team members who joined the project in January. We needed to get caught up quickly and down to work right away. We had a great deal of online information to help us.
Populating and building an entire town for this game is an enormous task. We required a steady stream of historical photographs to create a world that felt like a small British Columbia gold rush town.
We started out making the major characters in full 3D and the other characters in black and white 2D. These 2D characters are made from historical photos. Surprisingly, drawing the backs of the 2D characters is very time-consuming. Few photos exist taken from behind their subjects.
A lot of production time was saved when the tech team wrote a script in Unity that forced the 2D characters to always face the player character. Ultimately, the 3D characters did not work visually alongside the 2D characters, so the original 3D characters were remade in full color 2D, while the other lesser characters remained in black and white 2D.
We created the main characters in 2D and with bright colors in order for them to stand out.
Like our major characters, our major buildings are made in color 3D, while others are essentially 3D boxes with a black and white texture applied.
The textured black and white buildings allow us to create a big town to explore while keeping the size of the game low.
We need a number of 3D objects to stock our general store, the central building of the game. To save time, we try to use pre-existing models where possible. But we made many objects to fill the store.
We had to reduce the poly count of some of the assets for the game to play efficiently, but still retain some of the look of the originals. In some cases, we were able to reduce polys by 60% and still look the same. We used 2D movies for our opening cinematic, dialogue cutscenes, and info cinematics. The info cinematics lead to information elsewhere on the website, allowing the game to also serve as an information portal.
This machine looked like a giant bird.
As the 2D characters' mouths don't move, quick editing of the cutscenes shot from the point of view of the main character preserves the look and feel of the dialogue in an RPG.
That's some skookum computing.
We chose the Unity engine after looking at a few different options, including Flash, because it let us to create a game with the similar look and feel of a traditional 3D RPG.
We decided to make the game playable from the web rather than downloadable to strengthen the website exposure.
The Unity web player is cross-platform, freely downloadable, and works on older machines. This is an important consideration for young people accessing the site from school or home equipment that is often outdated. Regardless, we tried to put features into the game that you would see in bigger console games, such as a journal, mini-games, and a map and radar system.
All of this allowed our small team to build and populate an entire town efficiently and quickly. With a variety of internet connection speeds from schools and homes, our challenge is to reduce the loading and rendering processes for user computers, to keep the frame rate constant independent of the platform by adding a minimal amount of effects for a maximum effect.
Making these features required some out-of-the-box thinking in order to keep our game small but feel big. For the player map, we created a 2D map underneath the 3D world in order to mimic a second camera rendering from an overhead perspective. We raised the edges of the Unity Island terrain to convert it into a valley, then converted the shoreline water to a river when we upgraded to Unity 3 this year.